time now to once again boldly go where so many others have gone before and review another episode of Star Trek. Well, now we're on to the second pilot. Now, the actual first episode to air was an episode called Man Trap, and I'll get to that one next time. Man Trap, all about marriage. No. Come on. But no, this was the second pilot that they ordered after NBC turned down the first one, which was The Cage, which actually never aired except in a clipped version in a two-part episode, which we'll get to eventually, called The Menagerie. But anyway, this one is where they came back and Jeffrey Hunter wanted more money, and they said nope. And so they went to Jack Lord, and he wanted more money, so they said nope. And finally, they settled on William Shatner. Yeah, look, it's the sequence. Otherwise, he would have been, up there. But I think they lucked out because all the jokes about William Shatner and everything, he performs this character actually quite well. And it's an engaging character and an interesting one and draws you in. And the performances in this pilot are superior to the first one. So even some of the bit players, I think, come across better than the previous one. The only difference is there's some very similarities where there's this blonde girl who's just there to be pretty. Not the Sally Kellerman character, she does very well, but there's just this girl in the tan or yellow shirt, and she's just the yeoman, and kind of in the same position as the redheaded girl from the Cage, who, boy, I wish she had stayed around. Jeez, man, was she something. But she actually had some acting ability and lines and whatnot. This girl, not so much. She was there to be pretty, and she was, but it was kind of the same scene where Kirk almost runs into her, and it's kind of this awkward thing and all that. Then there's a scene where she's holding hands with the important character in this episode, Gary Mitchell. So I thought, were they suggesting that they were an item or something? Who knows? It was not going to go anywhere. You never see her again, and so it doesn't matter. But anyway, there's some subtle change. Well, not subtle. There's some pretty significant changes to the set. It's already, the color is coming in. There's more red added, so it's looking more like the Star Trek everyone knows or came to know. But it's still kind of in the Pike era. The uniforms are very much at that point. And there's no mini skirts. Oh, man. But in the practical sense, this version of uniforms was probably more, at least practical. The mini skirts, come on. We know why that is. What kind of, wow, talk about the military service like that, huh? But yeah, so they're not there yet. They're pretty much all, they're all wearing the black pants. And they just had these, the women had these collars on them. It's like a turtleneck type collar on the shirts. And that's another holdover from the Cage. So, but now it's Captain Kirk, and Spock is clearly in his Vulcan persona, even though there's quite a few smirks. Now, it's kind of like this superior smirk, like I'm the smartest guy in the room type thing, but still, that's an emotional response. So he's not quite there yet, even though he mentions that, I don't have emotions, but he does reference that one of his ancestors was a human. Well, I guess your father is an ancestor, but wow, boy, the distance between Sarek and Spock already established. No, they hadn't really thought it out yet, and it didn't matter. So this one aired, I believe, was the third episode, or maybe fourth. I can't remember the lineup exactly. But so they took a while for them to get to it, and it's kind of strange because how jarring it is because, all the sets are different and stuff, and they hadn't got quite to the look that you see in Man Trap. So, but anyway, it's still pretty much the Pike's Enterprise as far as look and the uniforms and whatnot. The cool little 60s looking monitors are gone, but what are you going to do? I kind of wish they'd kept those. But so here Once again, another similarity to the Cage is that, there's a lost ship and they're receiving a signal or distress call from them and all that, and they find it. And the ship got lost in this strange energy field that surrounds the galaxy. Now, I don't know that they ever refer to it again since the old Star Trek, because this just doesn't seem possible. And it's even with the new effects that they added later to try to make it fit in with Next Generation and all that. It's still just this pink line. It's like, well, just go over it or go under it. But I guess that's not how it works. That's just how you see it. But every time you try to go over it or under it, it appears. I don't know. But the idea is that there's this force field surrounding the galaxy, and it's difficult to get through. And there's all kind of dangers. But the Enterprise doesn't know anything about this, and the only other ship to do it was this long-lost ship called the Valiant. And they're listening to the recordings on it, and the crew is desperately trying to find out about ESP, and they're like, why would they do that? And then eventually the last message is the captain ordering the self-destruct for the ship, and destroys the ship, and all that's left is this little probe that they shot out with their data on it. So, gee, what's that about? Well, I don't know, but let's do what they did. And so they drive on through into this bizarre force field that attacks the crew, kills some of them, and then attacks Gary Mitchell, who is introduced as an old buddy of Kirk's, and Kirk outranked him and even became a teacher at the academy at the time, and Gary was in his class and all this sort of stuff. And he gets zapped by this thing and ends up with these glowing eyes. And what does this mean? Well, now he has superpowers. And almost immediately, Gary becomes a complete a-hole. Humans are nothing to him now. They're nothing but ants. And Spock is like, well, better kill him. Kirk's like, I can't do that. Not to Gary. Meanwhile, Sally Kellerman, who was the original Hot Lips Houlihan in the MASH movie, she comes on as a psychiatrist who had some background in studying ESP, and she seems to be the only advocate for Gary, even as it goes forward. But everyone seems to forget that she also got zapped when the ship was in that force field. And so that becomes significant later because, yes, you guessed it, she develops the same powers. And so Kirk comes up with a compromise. Rather than kill Gary, he decides he'll maroon him on this outpost that's fully automated and developing fuel and whatnot, and only robot ships fly in and out of there or whatever. And he figures, it'll be safe to leave him there. Of course, at the rate Gary's powers were going, there's even a scene where they show him just wave his hand, and then all kinds of flowers and vegetation appears in a desert. Good Lord, he's God. So I don't think you can strand this guy anywhere. But anyway, so that's the plan that he does. And of course, it doesn't work. He escapes and kills another crewman who was also a buddy of his. More implication that his humanity was completely gone. Now, this is the odd thing. The point of the story was that, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's even stated in the show. And that's how Kirk convinces the psychiatrist to join him, and she attacks, and the two gods fight one another and cancel each other out, sort of, and Kirk gets the drop on Gary, and there you go, he's done. Or is he? Yeah. Well, but the idea that he was losing his humanity, actually, he's gaining more. It's still there. And it was kind of this contradiction that Kirk is making. That humanity is not fit for power like that. They can't handle it. They don't have the evolutionary state in their consciousness, in their mind, in their morals and whatnot. And it's true. So he didn't really lose his humanity. It's just his humanity can't handle that type of power. And it drove him to no longer see other people as little more than a nuisance, and that was the problem. Plus, there's some indications there that he was a bit of a cut-up and kind of an a-hole, so perhaps what happened to him, magnified his personality in the negative and that sort of thing, and that he never fully recovered from the initial zap. You could, do all that, because at the end, Kirk records him as having died in service to Starfleet or whatever, because he said, look, he didn't ask for what happened to him and that sort of thing. And, of course, accommodations for Sally Kellerman's character, Dr. Dana. So he does this at the end, even though they're dead. But it's interesting to note, had the series gone forward, I kind of wondered if Gary Mitchell could have been a character that could have come back, considering the levels of power that they demonstrated that he had. And could he really be killed just by being buried alive by a papier-mâché boulder? I don't think so. And plus, at some point, perhaps even his human body would fail him, and he would have to progress and evolve into this like pure energy being and something like that, because they were showing that his hair was getting grayer and grayer as time went on, like his body couldn't even contain the power. And they would have been, but it just, none of that's really explored. But it's also a staple of Star Trek, of these godlike, near omnipotent beings they keep running into. And of course, that continued over into Next Generation with Q, and so on and so forth. You know, Charlie X will appear, and Trelane and stuff like that. And so right off the bat, here we have a guy who was just an ordinary guy, an old buddy of Kirk's, and he's transformed into this mad god, you know. So there you go. That was what they thought wasn't as cerebral as The Cage, I guess, but in a way it was, if not more so in some manner. But this is the one they decided sold the show, and they were off to the races. So another thing about Gary Mitchell is that was one of the false rumors they put out about the Star Trek Into Darkness. Looking back, it probably should have been Gary. Not that it turned out any better. I don't know. But you wouldn't have had the cheesy con lines in there and stuff like that. But anyway, that's another story. Yeah. So there you go. Star Trek, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Oh, geez. Yeah, the title was Where No Man Has Gone Before. Yeah, censor that, because that's an inappropriate phrase these days. It should be illegal, which it practically is, I guess. I don't know. Oh, boy. They wouldn't fix that until 1987. Because, you know, people are fragile things and can't take things like that. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, I said the word. Star Trek. Next, we'll deal with another episode of Star Trek, of course, The Man Trap. We can say man in that title, still, for now. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And hey, while you're here, check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you.